go.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Masters Fantasy Football podcast / YouTube show. I am your host today, the Doc. I'm here with a new guy. You've not seen him yet. He's here to help us run drafts, which, as you might be able to tell, we're out here. We're running drafts from noon to midnight every day. It's draft season, folks. So if you haven't signed up for your draft yet with us, I don't really know what you're waiting for. But yeah, we're out here in the thick of it, just waiting for those sign-ups so we can run these drafts, get you guys into your leagues. So yeah, but more about our buddy here who's helping us run drafts. This is Evan. And he is, a bit of a daily fantasy wizard, so to speak. He knows what he's doing. He's got that magic touch. A couple of big wins in his past. I'll let him divulge any information to you guys. But the point of today's episode: sleepers, sleepers. You've heard me. You've heard the Commish. You've heard Dynasty Owl talk about our sleepers. Our guy here, Evan's got a whole list of sleepers to give you: redraft and dynasty. So, I mean, knowing my guy, I think he's got a pretty good list here, so I think it's worth listening to. So, Evan, why don't you go ahead, boss?
All right, let's dive right in here. We'll just go right into it.
Excellent.
I think I got like 5 sleepers, and then we're going to go to a couple dynasty deep sleepers as well. So we'll start off with redraft. First guy I have on my list this year is Byron Pringle. I'm not sure if many of you out there have heard of him. He's kind of a guy that's been under the radar for the past few years, being in that Chiefs offense. But this year, I think he really has an opportunity to take control of that second spot over Mecole Hardman, or if not that, the third spot. And, both those spots in the Chiefs offense is, great for fantasy, especially where you can get Byron Pringle. He's going undrafted in most drafts this year. But he's a guy that's 6'1". He's one of the taller receivers that they have. He's looked good in the preseason so far. He's making some quiet noise over there in Chiefs camp. He's not a guy that I'm going to sell out to get all the time, but if I have that extra slot there at the end of the draft where I'm like, let's take a flyer on somebody, I'm looking at Byron Pringle.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I mean, it's hard to argue against the Chiefs offense, and yeah, right now, I mean, they've got Tyreek, they've got Travis Kelce, but besides that, I mean, they have high hopes for Mecole, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I mean, he hasn't really reached out and grabbed that second receiver role, so I think it's a good chance to get a flyer in that Chiefs offense. I like it.
Yeah, totally. That's another thing I was going to say is that Mecole's just been unimpressive, or hasn't lived up to the hype that really what he was supposed to be. So we'll move into the second guy I got here, and this is someone I'm huge on this year. These guys are probably getting a little annoyed with me talking about him all the time, but I'm really huge on Quez Watkins this year. Quez is a guy that's in a Philadelphia receiver room that's a little crowded, you could say, but it's also a room that doesn't have a ton of proven talent at the moment. They got Devonta Smith in the draft, obviously. Jalen Reagor did not live up to what he was supposed to do last year, getting drafted in the first round. And then they have guys like Greg Ward and Fulgham that were decent last year.
Right.
But Quez is a guy that has been making a ton of noise, and I'm sure if you've followed anything throughout the preseason, you've heard of him. Jalen Hurts has praised him. He took that screen pass in the first preseason game for that touchdown. He's just been electric. And all the reports out of Eagles camp is he's looked great. One thing that you had mentioned earlier, it is worth keeping an eye out on the Reagor situation. There was reports that Quez was getting first-team reps, but also in that last preseason game.
That was all Reagor for now. But, who knows? It would make sense that you'd protect that first-round pick from just a year ago. But even that, I mean, I do think there's an opening for targets somewhere. With Reagor being unimpressive, it sounds like Fulgham's probably going to get cut.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really on the bubble, which is crazy to think after last year. And then Greg Ward, who, I mean, he's been good, but I think this is a chance for Quez Watkins. I mean, the door's pretty much open right now. So he can really be a guy that, like you mentioned, you can get him late. And, I mean, he could be able to slide in and actually be a reliable start week in and week out for the Eagles.
Yeah, and this is another guy that's going basically undrafted. So he's another guy that he could be your last pick of the draft. You could even pick a kicker in defense over him and still get him in the last round and just take a flyer on him. He's got blazing speed, ran a 4.3 in college, and I think he's got the talent to do it.
I love it.
My next guy, we're moving over to the running back position, and I think this is kind of a sneaky pick. This is a guy that's produced in fantasy in the past. He kind of was a popular pick there for a couple years, and that's Phillip Lindsey. He's in a new situation on a new team for the Texans, and they just my whole theory is who's going to score on that offense. Somebody has to do it, right? Yeah. And I think his style of play really bodes well to being on the Texans this year. They're going to be down a ton of games. He's great receiving out of the backfield, so I think that's an opportunity to get a lot of garbage time points, a lot of catches out of the backfield, especially valuable in PPR. Mm-hmm. And he's shown in the past that he can be a reliable fantasy starter in the right situation. Right now, last I looked, his average draft position is 144th, and he's the 41st running back taken. In a year where running back is so top heavy and it's really hard to find those depth guys, I love taking a shot at Lindsey there at that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can just say from redrafts I've seen and been in this year, I feel like everyone's taken like David Johnson and people are more worried about Mark Ingram when it's like, Phillip Lindsey seems to have the obvious upside of that group. And yeah, I would not be surprised. I know durability's been a bit of a concern for him, but mostly because he plays so hard. But I think that's the running back I'd want out of those three, and he's not even really being drafted that high. He very well could be a starter that you're getting in the 144th spot. That's crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree. Next guy, I'm going back to the receiver position. I do have a lot of receivers because I think there is a lot of sleepers and a lot of opportunity there.
Definitely.
And this guy is an older guy. He's kind of towards the end of his career. He's also in a new situation, and I think it is going to be a great situation for him. And that's A.J. Green, moving over from the Bengals to the Cardinals. A.J. Green, for all those years, he was considered a top 5 receiver in the NFL. He's got the talent. He's got the size. The last few years, it's just all been a matter of being healthy. Also, the Bengals have not really had a reliable quarterback until they really drafted Burrow. But I think playing across from DeAndre Hopkins, who's one of the most, if not the most talented receiver in the NFL, is just going to be amazing for him. He's always been the number one guy. He's never really had that opportunity to kind of be that second role,
right?
Draw more single coverage. I think in the red zone, he's a big target for Kyler to hit.
Absolutely.
And again, the Cardinals have one of the best fantasy offenses in the NFL. So, just kind of all those factors, I just think is kind of a perfect storm for A.J. Green. Hopefully he can stay healthy. Obviously, that's another concern. He's a guy that's getting drafted. Last time I looked at the 164th spot, so basically undrafted.
Yeah, that's crazy.
64th wide receiver. But, yeah, that's my thoughts on A.J. Green.
The crazy part to me, too, is that A.J. Green, he's like the obvious number 2 in Arizona. There's like 3rd and 4th string receivers getting picked over him. That's crazy to me. I do think, I don't think he touches numbers he's had in the past, but I think this will be like a sneaky, really good year for A.J. Green just for all the things I haven't mentioned. I think the biggest piece is they don't have that big body that they can look to in the red zone. I think he's going to be a huge touchdown machine this year, especially against these number 2 corners he's going to be playing. That's going to be cakewalk for him. I love it.
Yeah, totally agree. So this is the last guy I have, and this guy I wouldn't really call a sleeper per se. He's somebody that's pretty prominent. He's kind of a popular guy, but I just think at his draft position, this is a guy that if you get him in the right slot, could win you leagues this year. I think he has that much potential, and that's Jerry Judy. I was huge on Drew Lock, and obviously it's been announced that he did not win the starting job. But I think Teddy Bridgewater is a quarterback that is reliable. He, if you go back and look what he did in Carolina, Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore and Christian McCaffrey, all those passing stats. I know he was able to support top fantasy receivers. So I think
top 25. To quote the Commish, he loves that stat. 3 top 25 receivers Teddy Bridgewater was carrying.
Right. So exactly, you go look at the situation this year. I think. This is his second season. He just has all the talent in the world, and that's why he was drafted in the first round last year. His route running is incredible. His ability after the catch is incredible. He's just, in my opinion, one of the most talented young receivers in the NFL. Cortland Sutton's still a little banged up, but when he comes back, that's obviously going to draw some attention from Judy. And I think I'm looking at Judy this year to kind of have a breakout season. A lot of people are looking at CeeDee Lamb. I'm looking at Jerry Judy. And Jerry Judy's going after Lamb in pretty much every draft. Guys like Odell Beckham and Juju Smith-Schuster are going over Jerry Judy, and I'm taking Judy over those guys all day. But yeah, I think he's a potential league winner, like I said, and I'm trying to get him at any time I can. So
I can see it. I like it. I'm big on Judy too. A lot of people just seem to be down on him for. I mean, he struggled last year, but things were not really good in Denver last year. So I mean, I think people have kind of sold out on Jerry Judy a little too quick, and I think they're gonna regret that, especially when. Yeah, I think he has a big year too. A lot of targets coming his way, I would think.
Yeah, and year twos, they're really. I mean, a lot of receivers struggle year one to kind of get their feet wet.
Right.
And years
yeah,
two,
not to mention too, it was just kind of short off season. All the COVID stuff obviously playing a factor. Inconsistency at quarterback, and then really nobody on the other side of him to take any attention away. I feel like that kind of hurt him as well because defenses could just kind of hone in on him in the pass game. And I feel like this year you got to respect Hamler if he's healthy, Sutton when he's healthy. Those kinds of things will be big for Jerry Judy, I have a feeling.
Totally, yeah. And that does it for my redraft kind of sleepers. Maybe some weren't sleepers, but that kind of does it for who I'm targeting in those redraft leagues.
I like it. Plenty of good late round guys. I mean, I think all of them, it's worth a flyer on all of those guys. I really like it. And I know my guy Evan here, he's got some Dynasty ones. We're going to save those for the next episode, though. So as always, leave a like, leave a comment. Any other sleepers you can think of for redraft, compare them with our guy Evans. Compare them with my list, the Commish's list, Dynasty Owl's list. We've got them all on the channel. Go watch those videos. And subscribe to the channel. And as always, sign up for a league. We got plenty of leagues running, like I said, 12 to 12. We're out here in the beautiful draft sanctuary. And, come be a part of the Masters family. We will see you next time.